what we were saying, like, so then theoretically they'd have to
Hey, so we'll call this meeting to order, the town council meeting for November 20th, 2018. If we all rise and pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to thank everybody for being here tonight. Can we do a roll call?
Mike McLaughlin here.
Debbie Kopp here.
Marty Lisenby here. Paul Edwardson here.
Danny Bassler.
Item number 1 on our agenda is Mayor's Town Update. Just a nice, quick, and short one tonight. We have petitions I sent out in the water bills to have people sign up and send back, so I have all this power to go to UDOT and say, we want to lower the speed limits to make our road safer. And I'm not sure we got any of them so far.
We have.
You? How many?
5, like 3.
3, yeah, so it's not an overwhelming success, so.
Is there one here that we can sign? Because I didn't
Absolutely,
email.
we can get you one right after the meeting. So anyway, here's some of the feedback I got, and I understand where everybody comes from different places, and a couple of times I've heard that it would be really great if UDOT would just widen the road and give us another lane and all this stuff. And we have, in a previous meeting, I'm trying to remember the dollar amount, but it's millions upon millions to do just a few passing lanes and to widen the shoulder a little bit. And my goal in trying to lower the speed limit down is that we're talking about, you know, widening the road, putting in these wide turn lanes, doing things like that is like a 10 to 15 year goal. And with people dying on the highway today, I thought this would be an easy way. If we could just slow the traffic down to 50, at least it wouldn't be as egregious of a speed that someone might be traveling. Even if they're cheating on the speed limit by 10, they'd only be doing 60 instead of the 80 and 90 that they're doing right now. And when you pull off at Richard Fisher's house, or you know where some of you live up above the wells, there was a bad accident Saturday right where Frank turns every day to go home. And it's a, what, 3 or 4 cars are involved. One, I think, even killed a couple of them, life flighted, and it was a horrific accident right at that intersection because the traffic is going so fast. So that was my goal. It's not that I want to be a, you know, the kind of mayor that just says that everybody slow down 25 miles an hour. I don't drive that fast myself, but I really felt like this was something we could do today that would be a couple of signs, maybe get some of those flashers that tell you you're going too fast, something to remind people to slow the hell down so we can make it safer for, you know, Frank and people that live up in Barton Wells, along with, I know Richard Fisher, for comments there, it's the 400 north or east, I can't remember what that street sign is there at Coyote, that turnoff there. There's several of them like that that are very dangerous. And so anyway, if you feel like that this would be a today fix, that's how I approached it with UDOT, that this is something we could do without spending hardly anything to help slow that traffic down, to make it safer for those that are slowing down and turning. And that's why I suggested it. I mean, in a perfect world, we just have, you know, a couple lanes, you know, 4 lanes through there or something, and it'd be into problem, turn lanes everywhere, but that's not the case. So anyway, so if you feel like you want to take part in that petition, it would be to help. I'd like to walk in with a few dozen of them and stack them. It'd be awesome. So any comments on that? Is that?
We're going to ask you 1 or 2 for a Westlaw opinion. Well, why don't they use that money for that Main Street for out there?
UDOT has nothing to do with Main Street. UDOT just maintains the highway, and the Main Street money is, you know, that's the county, and they're not participating in that at all. The only thing they might participate in is helping us with turn lanes or something. They might, because it is on their work order to eventually do turn lanes at Main Street anyway. And so whenever we come up with some developer money, they would probably cooperate with us to do those turn lanes on Main Street as well to help fill that gap in there, so.
But aren't they paving that whole thing all the way down to Rockville?
Well, that'd be the county, not the state.
Okay.
That's the difference is.
And they may and they may not, depending.
And
Wow.
based on some conversations that I've had, that is on their agenda, just don't know what that agenda is. Is it 2 years, a year from now, 2 years, 3 years, we don't know the time frame, but we
I would think that would.
know that they want it.
Because I would think that, 59 would be a much better project than Main Street.
Well, they're-
I know.
They don't
I
intertwine
know.
though. It's not a one or the other kind of situation.
I would be more than happy, like, for example, getting ahead a little bit, you want the Ipsa change, have a little clipboard with a bunch of those petitions on there, and just walking around asking people if they sign, so. Make it a little bit more easy for them to do it.
Yeah, I was shooting for the water bill because you go to their house anyway, they open it up, or they,
You gotta
the trash bill.
You gotta do it, get them to do it right now, that's on their mind.
Anyway,
That
so,
was going all the way from Hurricane, all the way up to here, or this section, once we get Apple Valley?
Dead
All
Man's
that
Curve going to Bubbling.
well, they have projects that go clear to the second hill coming up.
Okay,
There's a passing lane, they wanted to extend that passing lane clear till Cinder Knolls
okay.
coming this way, and then they want another passing lane going that direction. It's actually all on our website too, there is a
So
link.
what are we proposing for the speed limit change? Where?
Oh, the speed limit change, yeah, I'm sorry, I misunderstood
Okay,
the
okay.
question. I would go up past where Frank is, 'cause that's a dangerous intersection, and until that gets widened out, and that's become one of my favorite intersections to widen out.
Okay.
Because they're asking us what our preference is for projects, and I was thinking, well, let's put a passing lane here, put a passing lane there, and anymore, I'm like, hell no, we need to have turn lanes in some of these dangerous intersections, because that's costing people's lives. Somebody died in that accident, and that's not acceptable. So I'd rather not have passing lanes, and I would rather have some widening of the road in those critical areas where we're having a bottleneck. So if you feel like you know of one that's, in your opinion, is bad for, is dangerous, love to have your feedback on it, so.
Thanks.
Because I'd like to pick a couple of those that are gonna make a difference in saving lives. So, as far as the mayor's message is to continue, we have a sign-up page on our website. It's on the home page right now. It'll probably be someplace different when we have the new website. They haven't decided yet where it's gonna go. Website's come along, by the way. And it's for texting and or email reminders for meetings. And what I like about the system is you can sign up for town council only, you can sign up for planning commission only, events only, fire department only. So he can go out and just send out, hey, burn season's open kind of thing, and you get a text from the fire department. So if you go on our website, there's a simple sign up that allows you to put your cell phone number in there and opt in if you choose to be part of the reminders. And you can opt out anytime, of course. The next item that I have on my mayor's update is Mike Versamak. I had a conversation with Mike a couple of days ago. Mike is he's a zoning authority, I think is how he worded it, and a town planner for Tokerville. And he actually works for the city of Hurricane, and he's the main guy that you want to know and be friends with if you want to get your power turned on today instead of yesterday or tomorrow kind of thing, because he's the head of all the utilities. So the guy's he works full-time for Hurricane, he works part-time for Tokerville, and when we have projects like we have pending with Travis Home, at some point when we reach the point of a preliminary plat, approval, there's so much on there that we don't know, we don't have the expertise for. We are going to hire Mike to look at those to make sure we're getting everything done right. We have, I don't know, there's just several places that Mike can help us out. One of the things that he and I talked about was zoning. He says zoning is more of a political issue. There's 4 or 5 questions that need to be asked. How's it affecting who the neighbor is, things like that. But he didn't feel like that he had to get involved in every single zoning question. That was more of something the planning commission, he felt, and town council could decide that, do we like what we're doing, where we're doing it? Past that, is the project that we're putting there properly written up, and you know, did we dot the i's and cross the t's? We'll be taking those down to Mike for that opinion on those things. So anyway, any questions on that part? So, all right. So that's all I have for Mayorstown update. And item 2, appointment of town finance director, Ben Billingsley. Ben, would you mind standing so everybody knows who you are? Ben is, has a, I should make you tell us about yourself.
Sure.
Including the twin daughters.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got twin 4-year-old girls. They're kind of define my life right now. Graduated with a bachelor's in accounting 2010. I've been working in the corporate industry for 7 years. 3 years as financial analyst, 5 years as in general management. I'm excited to be part of the town.
So one thing I was impressed with, man, there's a lot of things that impressed me, but one of them is his wife. And when I met her, I liked the way she reminds me of my wife in some ways, you know, where she just, there's no filter, she just says what she's thinking. And that was very refreshing. But one of the things that I liked about Ben is he says, I'd like to be involved in the town instead of just being a job. I want to know the people, he wants to know the issues. That's why he's here tonight. So on Wednesdays, he will be not in the office until 10. Then that way he'll work till 6, and then he'll be right here. He'll attend the meeting. We're not paying him to be at the meeting. He just wants to be at the meeting. And barring any, you know, twin daughter issues that he has to attend to on a Wednesday, it sounds like he'll be at the planning commission and the town council meetings, so he can keep up with what's going on in town as well. So I appreciate that about him. That was his idea, and I thought, wow, that's awesome. So on Wednesdays you'll see him late in the day, so don't be thinking he's slacking, okay? Anyway, I'd like to make a motion that we appoint Ben Billingsley as our finance director for the town of Dr. Valley.
I'll second. You'll second.
We will second. Aye.
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 Motion carries.
Welcome, Ben.
Welcome. So approval of minutes for 10/17/2018.
I've read the minutes.
Anybody have any questions on them?
Nope.
They looked okay to me.
I have to say they're very easy to read and to follow, like if you were actually at the meeting. Good job, Michelle.
It's there was a time, I want to point out something on here that's pretty frickin' awesome. I don't know if any of you have this packet. Do you guys out there have the packet at all? So on the meetings, and these are the meetings as they'll be posted on our website. And you'll notice on well, the mayor's update for some reason didn't
On page 2,
qualify, but
consent calendar.
let me tell you where it did. Item number 3, consent calendar. Item number 4, discussion and action. Each one of these actions has a timestamp, and it says 2050 on discussion and action. And so if you wanted to know more about this in detail, you could, when you're looking at the paper record, and you can go there and it'll tell you where to go in the YouTube video, 20 minutes, 50 seconds in, and there's the discussion on that item. It's an effort that I suggested, and luckily Michelle thought it was a great idea, and everything is timestamped. As soon as we go from one item to another, she timestamps it, and that makes it easy for you to follow up later on transparency. The number one goal I've had in starting this is we've never had before audio or video on our website, so you can go in and actually see what you have. You only get what she thinks is important enough that she types in there at the time that she does it. And there's a lot left out, as you know, for discussion. So anyway, I think it's fabulous. I appreciate you, Michelle, for taking the time to do that. So anyway, should we do a motion to approve?
I make a
minutes?
motion, we approve the minutes as written for October 17th, 2018.
I second the motion.
Then vote.
Aye.
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 Motion carries. Number 4 is discussion and action on recommendation from the Planning Commission on zone change from AB 1377-C from residential 5-acre to open space transitional for the LeBaron Holt property. Any discussion on that? Any questions on it?
Pretty much at the planning commission meeting, everyone agreed that it was,
Doing something to try and help these people out. Any comments? You guys okay? All right. So I'll make a motion that we approve the action zone change for AB-1377-C from residential 5-acre and to open space transitional for LeBaron Holt property.
I second that.
And vote.
Aye.
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 Motion carries. And item 5, discussion and action on recommendation from Planning Commission on changes to Title 10, Chapter 26, Section 10, building setback and design, additional design standards. This is basically, we have just one small piece of that we want to change. It's going from a 50-foot setbacks when you're on the cliff side to 75. We're just trying to push it back a little bit. So Paul's house is a good example. He's 50 feet off the edge and it looks like he's ready to fall off the edge. It's not that far. So we want to push those back a little bit, and we'll talk to Paul about moving his house later.
Will you help?
Anyway, so that's what we're up to on that. It's just that one item. Any questions on it from the people out here? Any questions up here? Okay.
No, sir.
I make a motion that we change Title 10, Chapter 26, and Section 10 on the from the 50 feet to the 75 feet in the building setback.
I second that.
And vote.
Aye.
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 Motion carries. Discussion and action on recommendation for item 6, excuse me, from Planning Commission on zone change for AB 1377-N from planned development to residential 5-acre owners, Anthony Shapley. You notice that number's the same as the one above. They're actually neighbors. Their property lines touch at some point, way back in the history of Apple Valley somewhere, I think it was while we were Apple Valley, but it was many years ago, that property was zoned plan development because someone wanted to put in a cabin or RV park kind of a thing, and that never happened, but the zone change was done. And so now it's kind of we've got to change them all back now one by one, so people can build on them because it's currently plan development, but that's why it's plan development. So any questions on this from anybody? Any issues?
No.
No one.
Just a minor point, residential 5 is a little bit vague. There's 2 5-acre residential zones for single family and rural estates, so.
I was thinking it should have been RE5, isn't that right?
Exactly.
And,
And the only reason I bring that up is for somebody looking at it 5 years from now saying, well, what did they really mean?
right,
Well, that's what we spoke about, or that's what the planning commission talked about, isn't it?
Was-
RE5?
RE5,
Right.
yeah.
Right, so it really shouldn't say that.
I think Michelle probably wrote it out that way. Not sure,
On the
Anyway.
map it says RE.
Anyway, let's
You
just
just
put
have
it,
to make sure that when you make the motion that you say RE5.
yeah, let's do that, and then, so, anyone want to do a motion on that?
I make a motion that we accept the recommendation from the planning commission on zone change for AV-1377-N from plan development to RE5, owner Anthony Shafley.
I'll second that.
Vote.
Aye.
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 Motion carries. And item number 7, discussion and action on recommendations from Planning Commission on general plan amendment approval for Zion's Gooseberry Preserves units. And that's AV 1377, portion of parcel including the northwest quarter of section 28, township 42, south, and then range 11 west, SLB and M. Current land use designation is commercial. It's commercial on the front part of the property, and then it is medium density on the back part of the property. And the new land designation would be to recreational area, and the owner is Travis Home, or also known as Standard Development LLC. Is there any questions for anybody on this?
Just to make a correction, it's AV 1327.
Isn't that what I said? Oh, 1327, sorry. Any questions from anybody? And anybody up here? Any questions? We'll make a motion. You're still thinking about Mike?
No, I'm good.
You got
No,
questions
we
on
want
it?
this. I'm
Okay,
good.
all right. Well, I'll make a motion then that we approve the recommendation of the Planning Commission on general plan amendment approval for Zion's Gooseberry Preserved Units AV-1327, a portion of parcel including the northwest quarter of section 28, township 42 south, range 11 west, SLB and M, from the current land use designation of commercial / residential medium density area, new land use development to be recreational area. And that's presented by Travis Home, and the owner is Standard Development LLC.
I second the motion.
Vote?
Aye.
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 It's quite a legal description to have to spit out. And discussion and action on recommendations from Planning Commission on zone change for Zion Gooseberry Preserve units AV-1327, portion of parcel including northwest quarter of section 28, township 42 south, range 11 west, SLB and M, from OST, I think it's probably just OS, but OST-OSC to cabin or tiny home park zone, and owner Standard Development. Anybody have any questions on this
So
project?
what is OS?
Open space.
So we went and changed it and then changed it again, is that?
No, actually the action on this is we have a general map that says in the future we anticipate this area being commercial and medium density. We've amended that map to say that it's okay to be recreational area, but now we have to actually do a zone change. And that's a general map change, which just says that we can do what he wants to do in that zone, the general map. And so this time we're changing it for the zoning itself to what he wants to put on there, which are cabins.
Okay.
So there's just, it's a two-way process on that.
Okay. Yes, sir.
And, you have a question?
No, just a comment. I don't have any issues with the project at all, but I would recommend that we get the left turn, right turn lanes in first, or at least figure out how they're gonna be before we do zone changes. Zone changes are impossible for anybody to fight us on. they are, pretty much the town has the right to do it. But if we grant the zone change and then try to stop somebody from developing because there's no left turn, right turn lane, that may be a losing battle for us. Especially since we can't afford to pay for the traffic studies, all the stuff that are necessary to back that decision up. But a zone change is just a zone change and they can't fight it. So my recommendation would be that you told the applicant that you will change it as soon as the left turn, right turn lanes have been solved.
Well, Frank, even though they had a zone change, we could approve the zone change, and they can't do anything until they go through the planning commission and get approved for the development anyway.
Correct.
So that's tied to the development if you want to do that.
Well, I'll add on to that
So,
too.
yeah, so-
I'd like to add on to that
Yeah.
a couple of things and points, and Frank and I have debated this on many occasions, so, in a friendly way. And, I appreciate Frank's input on everything, because it gives us a different perspective, and it gives everybody a chance to listen to, both sides of this. And the other side of this is that he's talking about, requiring them to do improvements before we even say yes on their project, basically.
No, not them. Anyone.
Oh, no, I get that, but, okay, let's put it a different way, is that I would go to Travis, for example, and say that, sorry, we can't approve your zone change yet until these right turn, left turn lanes appear. Now, I don't care if you do them or someone else does them, as long as they're done before we approve your zone change. And so that basically putting a gun to his head saying that you gotta go do these turn lanes, we're not gonna approve your project. And even when he's done with these turn lanes, there's no guarantee that we'd even approve it anyway, based on changes to ordinances and codes and things like that can happen. But here's what our legal counsel will tell you on this, is that we're only required, our only legal requirement that we can enforce is that they have to pay for the portion of the impact that their project is going to put on the project. And so when you get a project like the cabins, for example, you can say there's 100 units. Right behind that, he has more residential he wants to do, probably 400 units. I'm not sure what's going on in the Gooseberry Mesa project, but if they came on board, they've got about 110 units. All of those guys would go together, do basically a traffic study, which tells us how much traffic basically is impacted right now that would be Macon County, and how much of it's based on that project or this project or this project. And we're gonna be collecting money from these guys before we ever approve anything and let them get going. And we would be putting that money in the bank to help pay for these turn lanes that we want to have done prior to them even having occupancy, is my hope. But a lot of things have to happen. Number one, we have, the reason I really don't want to wait on the turn lanes on this particular subject is because we have the possibility that the main street will be realigned onto the highway. So where do we tell them to put their turn lanes today if he wants to start on his project tomorrow? You know, we don't even know where it's gonna be. Yeah, we're talking about, yeah, go spend $1 million on turn lanes. And first off, that kills any project, any project. It doesn't matter who you are, it kills the project. And so now we're having a guy that's in a big picture, he's bringing water over to Main Street. That's gonna change Main Street in that now people are gonna wanna develop on Main Street. We're gonna have them line it up on who wants to develop what, where on Main Street. And once that water's over there, it completely changes the dynamic of it to where now you're gonna have a lot of people wanting to pay into that to help get those turn lanes in, realign the road, whatever has to be done to be able to push their project forward. But that's what our attorney says, is that we can charge them for their portion of that. The other way is to hold a gun to their head and say that you have to do it now before we do anything. I'm not in favor of that option. Go ahead, Frank.
You kind of proved my point, because you're saying that that your attorney says that we can't stop them. So my main concern is that we can't make him put it in. We can only collect a portion of the money. So therefore, we could end up with 100 cabins out there. We can end up with 400 or 500 homes out there before there's enough money to do left turn, right turn lanes. if that. And therefore, my opinion is that
Well,
somebody, and let me just finish, please. My opinion is that someone's life is way more important. I already lost one wife to a car accident, and I don't want to lose another one, or anyone else for that matter. None of this, the money that the development brings in, matters in relationship to someone's life. It is so dangerous to turn left and right off that highway. And if we can't, the only opportunity we have to say no to stop it, which you just said, is that stop the zoning. And they can't challenge on that. Say, we will give you the zone change as soon as someone, the county, the state, a group of developers will agree to pay for these left turn, right turn lanes. Otherwise, we could end up with hundreds of people trying to turn left and right. And lots of people get in accidents and lots of people dying. The only stop that can't be challenged is tonight. It's that simple. They cannot fight it. And therefore, collecting money from an applicant doesn't put in left turn, right turn lanes. So by putting pressure on them by saying, we will approve your project, your zone change, and your plot maps and all this other stuff, but not until you and your buddies and other property owners find a way to put these left turn, right turn lanes in. Because it's people's lives we're talking about. And I don't give an iota about the water or anything else in comparison to that. It's really scary to turn left and right, and we all know it. So that's why I'm not opposed to the zone change after we get a way to do the left turn, right turn lanes.
So you're saying put it in the actual proposition, so they have a guarantee it will be done, as opposed to.
Make a motion that says that you will agree to change the zone as soon as but put the burden over on the developers and property and landowners. They're the one that benefit financially from it. Instead of our little town, we can't even afford the traffic study to back.
We don't have to do the traffic study, they are. You have a comment?
Yeah, I've had a home with a town development, and I think what makes sense is to do the zone change, and before you guys issue building permits, we figure out that plan. So just so in the meantime, we can look at funding and all the stuff for the impact fees or whatever we need to do. But if we don't get it rezoned, that kind of kills all the development forever on that road. Because nobody's gonna come up with $1 million to pay for that thing. And I do think our impact fees, it's going to be large. It's going to really help out and getting that in. But first, we got to get a zone change so we can proceed with funding and all the stuff.
I haven't met you before. What's your name?
Landon?
Landon?
Yeah, Landon. I met you in the back room probably a month ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
2 months ago. I remember
Yeah.
now. I remember now. So Landon's with Center Development then. You're here on behalf of Travis. Would you say that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Pamela Coyle, Smithsonian. I agree with Frank, and I'm wondering if the town has liability if people start being killed on that corner because we allowed development that the road wasn't capable of handling.
We definitely have a moral liability.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Legal, I don't know.
Wouldn't the go-ahead of the project be contingent on the lanes being in place?
Well, what Frank and I both agree on is that our ability at the point past zoning to force them to put those turn lanes in is problematic. That's what our council has said, that we cannot force them to 100% pay for turn lanes. I mean, there's a lot of things we, as a town, we could do. We can enter a developer in the pioneer agreement that lets anybody else that wants to even pay back this stuff. So if I can talk Travis into paying for those turn lanes, we can do a pioneer agreement that, you know, pays him back for those costs when other projects do come on board. I'm not sure of any others right now besides his, but anyway, you know, Frank makes a good point on this. I just, the argument the only argument I can make is that, our legal counsel's, told me that I cannot, force them to pay for 100% of that, and that the most we can really allow them to, force them to pay is that portion of which they're impacting that intersection. And we have the county, who's already admitted that they've got to help out. We're talking about relining the road. And it's easy just to pull the plug and say, you know what, let's just not even do this. So now when? I mean, next year, the year after? I mean, if I got a guy that says he could write a check to make some of that happen, and we're gonna say, no, you can't do it at all. I mean, I agree with you that we gotta have these turn lanes in. I agree that we don't even know where they're gonna be right now. We don't even know if they're gonna move them. And that's kind of up to us. We've got to negotiate with some landowners on easements and if we're gonna reline that road. But today, we don't even know if they're gonna be where Main Street is today. And I just think it's, I mean, the way we talked about, he has an approval of, 100 or 110, whatever the number is on these cabins, but he's just not gonna start with that. I don't know how many he's gonna start with, but it's probably only 20 or 30 of them. Because that's how he does it. He does it in measured increments. Frank, you're a developer. How long is it gonna take him to develop 400 homes out there?
At the Apple Valley pace, forever. It'll be a long time.
16 years at 25 per year.
And
Yeah,
so,
nobody
so
ever done that.
you
So,
talk about.
but that can change any time. So right now.
I get that, but my point is that you've got 400 home sites out there, and realistically, he can't even develop 400 home sites. I mean, we're talking 2 years from now, maybe the first ones go up for sale. We're not talking about 400 people living out there next week.
We have, at my intersection, I've owned my property for 14 years. And I've only lived out here full-time for 4 years. There's not been a year where we haven't had a serious accident. And there's only 6 of us that live there and 4 or 5 on the other side. And yet, so it doesn't take 20, 50, 100. It's just any one of us that tries to slow down, and it is scary because they come at 100 miles an hour with their Bobcat, and when you slow down, they want to
How many
pass.
of those accidents were caused with somebody slowing down? Very few. If you look at the reports, 90% of them were caused people speeding and trying to go around somebody else and hitting head on or forcing somebody off the road.
What happened?
If you look at the police reports.
The 2 that I have seen in the last 2 years, they were all from somebody was trying to turn into. The one was trying to turn right, and the other one was trying to turn left.
And the last 2 we just had were just the opposite.
And then those were down there, that was blown tire and whatever else it was. But the ones that have been in mine, they were all the ones that I have when I've been living here. I don't know about the other time, but they were because they didn't see them. The first guy behind you sees you slow down, but the second or third guy don't, and they just see traffic slowing, so they take it as an opportunity to pass. And then right when you're trying to and the last one last year was somebody that was trying to turn left, and then that one person swerved into it and hit head on to the other traffic. They were trying to get out.
And that's just
but that's all because of.
That's a restriping thing. I mean,
Yeah.
they should not even have turn lanes right where you have an intersection. That is crazy.
But we all know that double stripes don't mean nothing to a lot of people that drive on that
Yeah,
road.
but you do have a
We
broken line.
have.
You have a broken line there. It says
Yeah,
that's
and
okay to
we
pass.
met with UDOT in January or February, and we outlined, this was with Robert and I, we met with them, and we outlined things that we would really like to see, and we talked about the reduced speed as well, as we talked about the being able to turn off the road, but we also talked about double striping and more signs, and yet we're now almost a year later and absolutely nothing.
Nothing, yeah.
So I've been in development where I develop in Sky Mountain, 2600 West. We tried for 15 years to get UDOT to lower the speed limit because so many people had accidents coming out from our road. It was my customers, but they they simply go by the speed limit. They measure the speed, and if the average speed is at or above what the sign says, they won't lower it.
Well, people were getting T-boned out by you, and they finally lowered it down to some to help out, and that made a big difference.
By
In
where?
New York and in your development,
It's 55.
along that area where you're at.
It's been, yeah, it's 55, or it's been that way for a long time.
Well, no, what I'm getting at is it was even higher than that. I lived there when it was higher than that. And when they slowed it down, that was a big help, especially on that curve around that Chevron station. They're coming out of that mobile home park there and getting T-boned left and right because the speed was too high, but lowering down to 50 made a big difference on it. Yeah, Rich?
Can the zone change be written up contingent on the road work being done? This way the applicant feels comfortable that, okay, I'm gonna get the zone change, and the town will feel confident that the road work will be done. This way, both parties are happy.
I totally agree with Rich, and if that takes another couple of weeks to write up something that, maybe put it in writing, or make the motion much longer than it is, I just don't see the rush. The project's not approved yet, so
Well, we can't approve the project unless we do a zone change.
you can do
You
them
cannot do a
both the
preliminary
same
plat
night.
without a zone change.
You can do them both the same night.
Yeah, but at the same time, you're asking this guy to spend thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars of engineering, traffic studies, and we don't even have a zone change that allows him to spend that money. And that's the proper order of it, is to get a zone change, so now I'm gonna spend my tons of thousands of dollars to get all the stuff engineered like you need for a preliminary plat. And, because he could come back with his tens of thousands of dollars of engineering, plop it on our desk, along with the zone change, we say that, you know, we're still worried about those traffic lanes and we're not gonna approve it.
That's also kind of proves the point. Why, as a developer, if I don't know if I couldn't afford or at least
It's not about affording
to
it,
put
it's
in the left turn, right turn lanes, I wouldn't, the zoning change.
You're
doesn't
asking
mean-
one guy that's building Benny cabins to bear the burden
No,
of $1 million.
all I'm
of
saying
damage.
is, I'm suggesting
And
that
that
he,
means that's gonna squash that deal and probably everything else.
I'm suggesting that he, along with the other properties owners there, along with Heber Allred, along with the Gooseberry project, they all get together, they all come up with a plan and saying, this is what that's how we wanna solve the problem. And then once they have that, then come on in, we're ready, open the doors.
Doesn't that all come with a preliminary plat approval? I mean,
Yes.
all
But we
that-
can't fight.
It doesn't have anything to do with zoning.
Yeah,
All that has to be done before
let's,
they approve the plat.
let him comment.
And then also that road already got so much traffic, by us stepping in, we pay impact fees, we're making stuff happen, other people come in, want a bridge, we get that in. But if we just pull the plug like he's saying, then it never happens, there's still a lot of cars on there, so it's just another step to get it done.
That's another problem, is we don't have impact fees, we have teeny impact fees. We can't afford to do an impact fee study, so we can afford to raise our road impact fees, so we can actually collect some money so we can help these type of situations. It's kind of putting the cart in front of the wheel, we're just not ready, if we had the money, that's a different story. We were St. George, and then they would say, hey, we'll pay half, and you guys pitch in the rest, that's how it works in the real world.
You know, Frank, we're holding the developers' feet to the fire because stupidity drivers out there, you know?
But people
Yeah,
still
we
die.
need some work done, there's no doubt about it, but we're telling the developer, he's gotta pay for all this, and that's not right.
And
I'm
some-
not asking him to pay for it, I'm just asking him
Yes, you are.
to spearhead it.
Yes, you are. You're asking him to pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
Let's not kid around. You
No.
are asking him to pay for it because he's the only guy that's got the checkbook out right now that wants to start on something. So because he's number one guy, that means that he has to do it or else. That's what we're telling him.
And I'm suggesting that somebody's life is worth way more than 100 cabins, or 10 cabins, or 20 cabins.
What's your comment?
Solve the problem first.
So you have 100 cabins, that's gonna generate a lot of money for the community, and it makes the community that much more better.
it's not.
Yeah.
No, that costs us.
No.
We don't get any. I tend to agree with Frank. I think, you know, he's got this dream of coming out and building this development out in the middle. and everybody else has got to pay the cost of him having his dream.
He's not, who's paying the cost of him having his dream?
Well, who's gonna build the road?
Well, he's gonna give his share of it.
That's fine.
Along
but
with two developments he wants to do, along with.
I kind of agree that we need to have something in there, that something's gonna be done with that road once he gets that development done, and starts having people coming in and out of that, out of these cabins, that there's something done with that road. Somehow.
What was it?
I haven't even done a traffic study yet.
That's before you guys issue the building permit, so now we get results, so we go out, we can start getting all plans together, and then you guys get your plan together, then before you guys issue building permits, we figure out what's best, you know?
You can't, it's putting the cart in front of the
Is there a
horse.
guarantee that the?
You wouldn't spend that much money without knowing that you actually gonna be able to turn left and right off it. So you gotta solve that problem first. It's.
Well, I feel like we got it solved. I just don't feel like you like the solution.
But if like,
There's a difference.
if Gooseberry isn't ready to participate in, you know, a partnership with them to fix the roads, or Allred's not ready, do we have to make one person wait for the other two to be ready to?
We can write up a pioneer agreement that, if one's behind the other, you know, that, we do a pioneer agreement where we have to, I mean, I agree with you guys, we gotta have turn lanes. I'm disagreeing that the zone gives him the ability to go out and spend money on the engineering. I'm not saying that we need to allow him to have an occupancy before then. I'm just saying that we've gotta solve this problem, but until we say yes to a developer on something to where they'll start spending money on engineering, we're not gonna go anywhere. 10 years from now, we'll be looking at each other saying, back when, we could've had a cabin project there, instead we got nothing in this town because we don't have water, we don't have, anybody that's willing to spend $1 million on turn lanes. That's how I see it.
$500,000 for left turn and right turn lane for their side of the street.
Yeah, but you're needing, okay, so it's $500,000.
Yeah, it's
That's
250,000
better,
for, it's
So-
250,000 for the other side of the street. Because there they only have acceleration and deceleration lanes.
Yeah, I just
So
think,
$500,000.
you know what, I just have a lot of confidence that.
If a
in
developer
my
can't-
conversations that I've had with, the county and with UDOT, they are on board to try to help put a solution together on Main Street, not only as far as pavement goes, but on this turn lanes. Turn lanes are part of their UDOT's, list anyway. And if we're handing them cash from a developer, and the county wants to fix it, and UDOT wants to fix it, this is not a hard sell.
Then do it.
That's what we're gonna do. That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna get these guys, we're gonna collect a bunch of money from them for turn lanes, along with their other project they wanna do, and we're gonna make them pony up the money. And we're gonna have that cash to be able to go to the county and UDOT, and we're gonna get the stuff fixed.
Then get a commitment out of the various developers and then go to the county and then give them the zone change. If it's that easy, then just get the commitments first. Because once you change the zone, there's no turning back.
Totally agree, done deal.
Well, the lawyer's not here, but, I mean, can we put the two statements in the one motion of it's approved to change once the lanes are in, you know, so then you kind of carry both things. I don't know legally we can or not, the lawyer's not here tonight.
Which is got the best idea.
No, it's basically, I agree
I'm
with
not-
that,
I'm not
this way
against
both parties
creating the zone
are happy.
If we can, I'm not opposed to, accepting the zone change if we know that that's gonna happen and that we can get the money and look towards the
Well,
future use of getting that in by the time this development's done.
Well, I think
It's
that's.
before you split it, before you do preliminary plats. Because right now, the town ordinance, the policy we passed as a town says we won't subdivide without left turn, right turn lanes. And we will aid and assist any developer in pioneer agreement or special assessment areas, anything we can help with is what we put in our policy.
And I'm just trying to kick that can down the road until that development happens along with this one, because I know that we gotta have it. I just don't think that today is the day to put the brakes on when we're trying to, get a developer to move forward, because we have all of the power in the future as well on that preliminary plat, whether we want to approve it because of the results of traffic studies and such. Because part of the preliminary plat information that he submits is gonna be that he has to have a traffic study submitted to us. So he doesn't get away with anything. And we don't have, and he can't move forward with a preliminary plat until we say yes.
But traffic studies works this way. A traffic study, me as a developer, I pay for a traffic study. You make me pay for it. I go pay for one, my engineer's gonna come up with the numbers that I want. And then cities usually have their own traffic study done, and then they battle out the traffic studies, the real. But we don't have the ability to pay for a traffic study. We can't, we only
Well, if
have,
we need a traffic study that counters their traffic study, they'll be paying for that too.
we can't
It
make them
just
pay
may-
for that.
Absolutely we can, because any engineering that is required on our part to pass off a preliminary plat is a pass-through. In
Well,
other words,
I'm
we can
telling
get
you,
them-
Marty,
and we
we
can
have to
also-
have an impartial,
And
we
can
pay
do that.
for
And we can do
traffic
that.
study.
I can just make that a requirement. We are going to do the traffic study through, we find out who is well-known here in whether Southern Utah or Utah, however you want to list it. And I just make it a condition of Travis that he has to pay that bill. Now we have an impartial as opposed to who he hired kind of traffic study. Because I don't want a Mickey Mouse traffic study. I mean, I want the real thing. I want to know
Well,
that we're,
It's gonna say left turn, right turn lanes are
Of course it
needed.
is.
No question about it, we all know it. The only question is, how many homes will it allow? How many lots will it allow before?
the percentage he owes.
No, nothing, it won't say anything about who pays for it. It will simply say that you cannot allow any more than X amount, 10 lots, 20 lots, 30 lots, whatever it is. And you may already have that amount of traffic on Main Street from all the tourists. But that's all it's gonna say. It's not gonna say anything about who pays for what or anything else. It'll just simply say, this is, it is needed, and it's gonna say it's needed. So if I was a developer, I wouldn't even waste my money on doing one. I would put it in because
You just know it's gonna require it.
it's gonna require it.
Absolutely.
And we know it too. So that's why I just think that people's lives matter more than some development.
So if you need more houses, as you make it a longer turn lane, is that what the requirement would be?
No, the left turn lane will be the same size no matter what.
Okay.
Or left turn, right turn lanes, they're all the same standards. It's ASTIL standards, road design standards, they're all the same.
Okay.
So it's just that, you can make the argument that if you just build two homes out there, do you need to have a right turn, left turn lane? And that's what they'll say, if you don't need it, it won't justify it for 2 homes or 5 homes or 10 homes. It'll come up with a number.
Okay.
That say that there it must be.
I think we can do this for 10
And
more
so
years.
we still have the same
Waiting for
problem.
left turn, right turn lanes right now, we got on protection.
So let me get it straight in my head. So say if we approve the zone change tonight, before he gets his preliminary plat approval or anything else, he would have to do the engineering,
On everything.
traffic study and everything, and if they say he's gotta do the turn lanes, then before,
Well, we know he's gonna, they're
Right.
gonna require the turn lanes.
but that would have to be agreed on before
Yeah.
he got his preliminary plat changed.
But I just think that, I just put myself in his boots, and Tish and I are in business, we make business decisions all the time. And if we said that we wanted to do this building, but you can't even get an approval on it until after you've done this work, I think it's freaking ridiculous. I'd say hell no, and you wouldn't see me in again. And I just think that it's ridiculous to require that these turn lanes be put in before we even approve a zone, because we haven't even approved preliminary plat on this thing either. But that should all come in at the same time, where we do a preliminary plat, we have the traffic studies, we have all the information, we get Mike to look at it, what else are we missing? And at that point, that's when we have to tell him we're gonna need him to pony up for the turn lanes. But we don't even know today, we don't even know where those are frickin' gonna be.
So we're getting ahead of ourselves here a little bit because we gotta wait for that to come back with this traffic study, and I understand what you just said, right? If you do a
He's not
traffic
gonna do
study,
a traffic
it's-
study if you can't get a zone change though.
Right, so what I'm saying though is pretty much going through this process, whether we agree whether there should be or shouldn't be, if he does a traffic study, it's gonna say he's gonna need those turn lanes anyway.
Right.
Is that
It is.
correct?
Of course it is. Yeah.
So why are we debating it right now if?
It's because it's subject to. So there's all these things that can be debated about traffic studies, about how many homes or not homes.
That's gonna-
All that can be
But that's gonna stop him from
litigated and
building if
talked.
he's gotta have
I don't
lanes.
think there is any debate on that. It's gonna say turn lanes. There's
Right.
no debate on that part of it. The debate comes in is, he doesn't want us to change the zone, so we can force Travis to right now go out and spend this $500,000 to $1 million, whatever the number is, I've heard both, on turn lanes before he even gets an approval. And what developer's gonna do that?
And I don't agree with that he's gotta do the turn lanes before approval, so.
That's
I-
ridiculous.
But why spend the money on doing all these plans if we're gonna stop him? If he doesn't have the money
He
to
knows
fix
he's
the
gonna have to do
problem,
it. He knows he's gonna have to do it, though. That's the difference is.
Then that's why I
You're,
don't
you're trying to,
understand.
you're trying to make it sound like, well, he doesn't know he's gonna have to do it. I'm just saying, when is it, we make him do it? Do you do it before he ever even, you know, starts to build something? I think it's ridiculous. Rich?
Is he going to be able to put structure up before the turn lanes are put in?
Well, we can, structure it however we want to as far as our approval goes. We can say that you can do whatever you want, but you can't open until it's done.
Yeah.
but
It's
once
subject to-
once you approve the preliminary plat, he has the right to build, once that subdivision is put in.
But the plat would be contingent on the road work being done, correct?
It should definitely be, yes.
Well, then the zone change is pretty much a moot point then. Because you,
It's
at
just-
that point, you're going to nip it in the bud.
Yeah, except you're talking ordinances. Ordinances you can debate and argue and interpret, but a zone change is impossible to challenge.
Right.
So that's why I'm just saying, if we have a ace in the hand right now to put some pressure on all these developers to get together and fix the problem,
Traffic studies and all that.
then why not? Then we know it's gonna happen. So anyway.
It would still happen down the line though, because in order for them to do any building, they're gonna have to have
Subdivide.
agreements.
If you're allowed to subdivide, you can't stop their building.
Okay, we have to get under
Sorry.
control, cause we have to be able to hear
Sure.
anything that's said up here.
Mhm,
So
sorry.
please make sure that you're
Mhm.
not speaking unless you've been addressed.
Sure.
Anyway, enough said.
Yeah,
I got a question. So at what point are the impact fees that we have now, when are they initiated? Is that after the signing of the plan development? When is that?
Well, it'd probably be an issuance of a permit, that's when they would be paying and stuff, but,
Okay,
I mean, to the water company, that could be a different arrangement, but.
okay.
Because
I'm just
they've got-
curious about that, cause our fees are low for a lot of things, so.
Right.
For the town, so it worries me that someone's gonna put in, 400 units or something like that. It's
Yeah,
gonna,
and it's not that much money to do that study, by the way. I was talking to
Yeah.
Ensign Engineering today on that is one of those issues. I've got a meeting with them on Monday about, that's one of the things that we're gonna be talking about.
I think it's very simple. When it comes to LeBaron's out of Spring Cliffs, before they can build the house, they gotta get inspection, make sure the road's good. But the same thing got to happen with this, and that's later down the line. I would say now get the zone change, we work with the town, come to a mutual agreement, and together we help fix the issue.
Well, he makes a good point that we're doing zone change for Shapely and LeBaron, but mostly Shapely, and that's because he wants to pull a building permit, but he's gotta do road improvements as well, but it's okay to do a zone change there.
Well, he's not adding, he just one
He's
lot.
adding one home.
He's just building a house. And we.
It's so different, it's so different. And
Well, it's
anyway,
different.
I've kind of stated how I feel about it. I think that we ought to just put it to a vote and see where we are. I don't even know where everybody's at on this, but I understand your point, Frank, that you like to be able to hold their feet to the fire, and that's basically what I feel like we're doing is holding a gun to their head. We'll do the zone change as soon as you get our passing lanes in, or our left turn lanes in. And I don't like doing business that way. I would rather have them step up and do their part on those turn lanes, but we gotta do our part, allow them to at least move ahead with engineering and things like that, Because if we leave this meeting today and we don't approve this is where I see that we're at. We're basically telling him that, no, we've gotta get this turn lane issue worked out first, because that's the most important thing on the plate. And I feel like that, as a developer, why would he wanna go and fix that issue when we can't even approve the zone and move it forward? And we're not talking about approving, we're not talking about him opening cabins next week, we're talking about giving him permission to spend money on some engineering so he can put in for a preliminary plat. As far as having a conversation on this, I'm sure he'll be taking that back to Travis, that these turn lanes are a huge deal, and our approval is gonna be based on that, and at that point, with this zone change even in hand, it's, at least they know where they stand on it.
So if we approve the zone change tonight, and when he gets before he gets his preliminary plat, if he doesn't agree to do the lanes and whatever needs to be done, we don't approve the project.
That's what it sounds like, yeah.
Correct.
And he has another project out there, and it behooves him, I think, to do it. My challenge is, I've got a meeting December 5th with UDOT and the county both, and we'll be talking about Main Street and those turn lanes. But it takes time to get these people together in the same room so you can have a conversation. And December 5th, I'm gonna be having that conversation with them, but I don't know. My agenda's one, and theirs might be something else, but I feel like we'll have the people in the room that can help give us some answers on that. But anyway, that's just, that's where I stand. I just feel like that this guy's been working over a year to get a zone change in just this particular property, and we're still, bucking at even approving a simple cabin project out on the highway, out on Main Street. And personally, I'm embarrassed that it takes that long for the town of Apple Valley to act and to do something. Instead, the only thing that we're interested in is whether or not we have turn lanes. That's the only thing that we're interested in right now is turn lanes. And for 9 months, we have been turning away anybody and everybody over turn lanes on doing anything. And I get that we need it, but with measured response, I feel you have these people that want to do these things. They know they have to pay something for it, and but we'd rather just say no.
Denny, how do you feel?
Well, even if we approve the zone change, you can't do anything until he submits all the rest of the documentation and the plat and everything, and then it's gotta go through the approval stage.
Yeah,
so he can't do anything.
But his argument is if we don't approve the zone change, they can't do anything.
No, I think we should approve it. Then let him go start to work, submit the documentation he needs, so he can get started, move some dirt, and then we can say, hey or nay, this has gotta happen before you can start building. What's wrong with that?
I agree.
And then when you deny that he's going to be able to build what he thought he could build, he's gonna take you to court.
Right. And we could likely lose. We can't lose tonight. He can't fight it. He can't argue it. And all you said was, we will approve your zone as soon as you work out the left turn, right turn lanes with you and your neighbor, all of the other property owners. He cannot lose, we can't lose that battle. But once you say yes tonight and say.
We could be just like the last 9 months where we've got nothing done. We've done almost no building at all.
Well, when it comes to the zone change, I think the zone change makes sense where it's located in the town. And I think that's all about I think that's what this meeting should be about, is whether or not that location makes sense. And I think it makes sense, so I think we zone it, and then later on before we get building permits, we figure this out with you guys, and I think that's the.
So I'm a little torn myself, because I wanna see development. A lot of people probably throw staring nice icy daggers at me for saying that, but I'd like to see planned good development in the community. I always have. That's just the way it is. So just on that alone, I would love to see us pass this tonight. Let's go ahead and build out there. Let's get things started. I have a view of where he's going to build. I wouldn't mind seeing lights out there, kind of cozy lights at night. That's just the way I feel about it. So I'm on that side of the coin. The other side of the coin is, what's the hurry? Yes, he's been waiting a long time, but at the same time, if this property that we have out here is so valuable in Apple Valley and people are just dying to build, then it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen as a natural course of events. The Gooseberry project's gonna go, and the houses are gonna go in, and the cabins. So that's where I'm kinda torn.
My comment to that is, Gooseberry, I'm wondering why they haven't gone. We've been waiting for weeks and weeks, or we've done what they call a red line on the developer agreement, and weeks have gone by, and we still haven't heard. That's not necessarily a good sign that that's happening, in my opinion. But as far as your other comment on what's the hurry, I mean, you've got a guy that has the ability, he says, to bring that water from that water tank over to Main Street. And he has to do that in order to even do this capital project. And once that water line's in, now it's easier for anybody to hook up a water there. And without that water line, it's cost prohibitive. It's cost prohibitive for Travis to do it. I've talked to Travis, I was like, you're insane. The return on investment on this project and others they don't pencil out, they don't make sense. But if we get a water line out of this deal over to Main Street, we just won as far as the town goes, because that's a lot of money to bring that water line that far. And so if you've got a guy crazy enough to write that check and to make that happen over there and to bring this over, and wants to spend money on it, and we're gonna, do you think that putting in $500,000 worth of turn lanes under a pioneer agreement are gonna stop this guy once he starts spending money to bring that stuff over? I think that we can kill development in this community tonight. We can absolutely kill it. Because I talk to developers and people all the time. I never have talked to a guy that has the ability to write a check for half the stuff. And Travis owns half the town right now. When it comes to, it's either owned or it's under contract. And so you're gonna take that one guy and just say, I don't wanna do it because we gotta do these turn lanes first. We're not giving him a carte blanche credit card here. We're saying that you gotta bring in all this engineering before the preliminary plat. We can get the answers on this, these turn lanes, when's he gonna do them, and how's he gonna get happen? Where's that intersection gonna be? We don't know where that is right now. But this is not approving hundreds of homes tonight that is somehow going to just absolutely tear up our town. I think our town's gonna be a better place with this project and some of these other ones that he's doing. And you know what? It takes lining up those stars just right to where we can make these things happen with getting the water lines in, getting these roads fixed, and the turn lanes. We can't just you're talking about making him do everything for a capital project out there. And I just think that, you know what, overall, yeah, he's got to pay his fair share of that stuff. And when he does the Redstone, I think is what he's calling it nowadays, project, we have to, hold his feet to the fire. If Gooseberry comes online or not, we got to have turn lanes down there. We got to have that road paved. But I think the county's on board to pave the road based on my conversation with Victor Iverson. And anyway, I'd like to put it to a vote and see where we're at. But you guys okay with that?
Well, I make a motion that we accept the zone change to allow him to at least get started on engineering and the plot plan, and we can hold him accountable after the fact to what he needs to do before he can start building.
On the front end.
Yeah. So I made the motion.
And I think we have to read that out, Danny.
Okay.
Just our recommendations.
Okay, I make a motion, a recommendation of the planning commission of the zone change for Zion's Gooseberry Preserve Unit AB 1327, portion of partial including northwest 1/4 and northwest 1/4 of section 28, township 42, south range 11 west, SLBNM from OST-OSC to cabin and tiny homes, Park Zone Owners Standard Development LLC. Anybody second?
I second it.
Vote.
Vote. Mike?
Aye.
Aye.
Nay.
Aye.
Motion carries. I make a motion that we amend the agenda. I'd like to just talk briefly about impact fees and hand this out. We're not going to do any action on it. It's just a matter of a discussion. Anybody second that motion? We can talk about this, even though it's on our agenda.
I second the motion.
Vote.
Aye.
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 All right, I just wanted to hand these out. This is just a, I've got some extras if you want one, Frank.
Yeah, like one.
There we go.
I need one.
There's, we might give one to her. And so this is just a spreadsheet I put together on the cost of doing business with our town as far as our fees go. And I just wanted to give them to each of you. I compared our fees with Washington County, Hurricane, and Washington City. And what I'd like you to do is just take this home, look at it, and think about it. And in a future meeting, I just think we should chat about, are we comfortable where some of our fee structures are compared to others. And there's one example, preliminary plats, $1,500 for the town of Apple Valley. You go to Washington County, it's $500. Hurricane, it's $150. Washington City, it's $200. And ours is $1,500. Just some of the fees just look, especially when you get into acreage fees. When you talk about the general plan amendment that we did tonight is $500 plus an acreage fee of $50 per acre, so that comes out $2,500 to change the general map. And if you go to Washington County, it's $500. When you go to Hurricane, it's $500. And then Washington is apparently where this got copied from, because theirs is the same. And so anyway, I just think we should just look at it. It doesn't mean we got to change it. I think it just deserves a conversation, and I just want to bring it to your attention. And I've attached on the backside what our fees are and some of the stuff. I just highlighted a few in there. So anyway, any discussion on it, or shall we just leave it at that?
So were you concerned in general that we were too high or too low in general?
I think that
We're making it harder to build for?
I just think it's on the high side compared to some of our competing cities, but I'm not sure that it shouldn't be higher than some of them, but I'm not sure it should be this high. When it's $1,500 to do a preliminary plat, you go to Hurricane, it's $150. That's a considerable difference. And it could be that Washington County, they're $500, and these larger municipalities, they can afford to do this stuff better than we can. And when I get a preliminary plat in, I'm going to have to take it down to Mike Bersamak, and we have to pay him, hourly to look at this stuff. So there is more of an expense to us than some of these other communities. So I'm saying that maybe it should be higher. I'm just saying to look at it, and I think we should just discuss it in a future date to decide if any of this is exorbitant or not. So Travis spent $7,000 tonight on doing, there's some of it's for next planning commission meeting as well. So tonight was about $5,200 for us to say yes on 2 items. And it could be that that's what it should be. I pointed out to Travis that he's supposed to make $2.7 million the first year. So $5,200 sounded like a bargain. But anyway, he feels like we're taking advantage of it, and I want to bring it to everyone's attention. If you felt like it was okay, I'm okay with it. If you think we want to change at some point, we might just consider it. So
Maybe we should just table it for now and everybody look at it.
yes,
And then
that's
at
all I
the
want
next
to do.
council
I'm
meeting.
not trying to vote or change anything tonight. I just want to bring it to your attention. So anyway, so number 9, consider approval of reports and recommendations, events committee. Tish or Debbie?
Yeah, so December 8th, we're gonna have a cookie exchange.
So if everybody was to bake 4 dozen cookies and bring it down to the town hall, what we're doing is just exchanging so that you can bake some chocolate chip and you can pick up some peanut butter and just kind of a get together community effort. The leftovers are going to be donated to the Heritage Home Senior Living down in Hurricane. We called them up and they said, thank you so much, we loan. And that way they can share with their relatives that come and visit them on the holidays. Also, we're doing a canned food drive and will benefit the Hurricane Valley Food Bank. So if anybody doesn't want to bake cookies and just has some cans they want to donate, we'll be down here. And hopefully we can get some community group together and do a good thing for this holiday. Okay? Thanks.
It's the same night, we have a award for the Christmas.
We're doing it in
No,
the middle
we're
of the
doing it
day.
in the
We're doing it at noon.
We changed it to a breakfast, but we should be done by then.
Yeah, we should be.
We should be, because we have it from 9 to probably 11.
Or 11 to
Or
1:30.
11 to 1:30,
So,
so.
yeah, we should be
Or
okay.
noon to 1:30,
Right.
yeah.
I just want everybody to make sure they all can come.
Okay.
Don't have to choose.
Costco
But they
cookies,
have-
Costco cookies are okay?
Whatever you want to do.
Absolutely,
Absolutely, yeah.
The
Bring
whole idea is to have
Oreos,
some
we don't
leftovers
care.
we can go donate to, you know.
If anybody has canned goods and they can't make it, we can make arrangements to get it from you ahead of time.
And Mike McLaughlin, do you have anything from the planning commission?
I don't.
Okay. And fire department, Junior.
Yeah, I signed up 3, 4, and 5 guys we got an S290 basic air ops class. It's a 16-hour class. I think I got 3 or 4 guys in that. I also got a S131 advanced firefighter. That's a 16-hour class also. I also have a few guys signed up for an S290 fire behavior. I also have 5 guys signed up for winter fire school. We got 4 guys signed up for the hazmat ops, 40 hours, and hazmat awareness is another 8 hours. And then I have a 16-hour propane class that I think I might be the only one going to in Richfield. It's in preparation for pretty much a lot of this development and RV parks and stuff that we're talking about. So that'll get us a little more tuned in on what to deal with this propane and hazmat with those disasters. So a lot of firefighters are killed every year from propane explosions. It's one of the leading things that kills firefighters. So we also have some more training coming up in search and rescue, tied in with St. George City on search and rescue. And we're looking at possibly starting up a crew out here for search and rescue and being utilized by Control out of St. George. So that's something that's a real positive thing. We've never had that out here, and we have a lot of rescues out on Dewsbury and Zions that we can assist with. So, and lost people. We get a lot of lost hikers and stuff like that. So we started working on the Hummer again. Need one more part for the tank, and then we'll be putting that in. So hopefully in the next week we'll have that in. Mounted some of the boxes on the Hummer. I still got to find out a way to get it painted, but we might just do our own paint on it. So, a few little maintenance things. Our SCBA's are still expiring. That's been I know I've brought it up multiple times with the whole council members and stuff, but our SCBA's next year, I think, is their final year. So, and those are high dollar items. I'll talk with you more about it later.
During those classes we're going to, is that gonna get somebody certified to go out on federal fires?
Yeah, so as soon as we hit to our advanced firefighter, which is right here, as soon as we get there, then that's going to allow us to get out a little further. As soon as we have that engine Bosch trainee, so as soon as advanced firefighter is finished with the task book, which hopefully that'll happen this winter on mitigation. So hopefully we can get that signed off, and then we'll have engine Bosch trainees, and we should have 3.
So when that happens, then they can request you a brush truck for like California.
Farther
or-
than Utah. Yeah, farther than Utah.
And that's what's holding us back pretty much?
from going outside of Utah.
Okay,
Yes.
I got you.
Yes.
And,
So-
and on the search and rescue, is that gonna be tied in with the Washington County Search and Rescue?
Yeah, they'll be sponsoring some of it, and then there's also gonna be up north, we got a task force one up there that travels to say all of these big disasters are gonna be running some of the training. So as soon as we get in tied with them a little bit more, then, it's a little bit more opportunity for our guys and to bring some more guys in, so.
Thank you.
It just makes us a little more diverse, so. And then, engine 191, I've been trying to figure out what the heck's going on with the electrical issues, but, the last time I took it out in the middle of the night, the lights and everything just went off while I was driving down the road in pitch black, so it was a little, I'm glad I was driving, and it was a little scary, so. It's just an old engine, and it's been around a long time, and I don't know really where to look. I've had a couple people look at it, and the electrical on those things is pretty.
Did we check the electrical underneath you had problem with before?
I've looked underneath it, I've looked for any kind of abrasions in the wire, I've looked for any disconnects, anything. I've looked at a lot of different areas, I haven't found anything yet, so I'm gonna continue looking the rest of this week for that, trying to make that a priority. Also, I'm still looking at the chipper, I just haven't had much time to look into the hydraulic. I've looked at them a couple times, but I haven't really locked anything down. And burning's been horrible this year. About 50% of people are getting permits, so I'm gonna start calling the fire marshal, because it's just kind of getting out of control. Everybody's playing dumb and acting like they don't know we need a permit, and act like they don't need to call, and it's just getting a little bit out of control. So if you see anybody burning, call me, because most of my calls are.
What's the season? When are we closing, or how long are we gonna do?
It's open right now. I am not closing it until I feel the need to close it right now. So we've locked it down to 2 days, which is good for me to manage, 2-day burn permits. And we're not getting a ton of them right now, but that's because we're having people just burn on their own. So it's a huge hazard, and I can't believe people are doing it with everything that's going on in California. So.
Well, why don't you get with Ben, and let's make sure we get something blurb on the trash bill when it goes out. So at least we can put a tagline in there, a reminder kind of thing. You
Yeah.
give him the verbiage, you can put it on the
Little
bill
note
for us.
on there. Okay, yeah, that's a good idea. And then, so I have 4 illegal burns this weekend alone, along with the wreck, out there that I was on standby for. So, roads, we got some water coming. So, and we got really cold weather coming right after that. So, right by Cedar Point's a bad spot. Right on the hill by Cedar Point is a bad spot. We always have accidents there, and the turn is really bad, and then the little S going down through is really bad. So if you're going early in the mornings or late in the evenings, be very, very careful. So, and watch out for people, because that last wreck, it was an accident. It was a little bit of negligence, but it still was an accident. So be careful and maintain your vehicles the best you can, because I'm hearing from reports that was a very old tire on the front of that truck, and it could have been, I'm not saying, it wouldn't have happened, but it could have not happened. So I have mitigation's not gonna start till we get some snow in the mountains, so they're not gonna allow us to burn up there on the mountains or mitigate until we get some snow. So, any questions?
All right, thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
Engineering Rod Mills, he's not here, but I'll speak on his behalf for a brief moment. We have the FEMA money that we've been trying to apply for. There's a large process that's involved, and I talked to him a couple of days ago. He says that he would like to see if I can mobilize a committee of people that can help with parts of the application process. My impression of what that means is that we have to document some of the washouts, and all of us have our own photos of some of the flooding going on, but my impression is we need to compile that in a book format of some kind. He said that he would get together with us as a committee right after the holiday, Thanksgiving holiday, and he would let us know what we got to do, but our time frame is very tight. Once we have this meeting, we only have a week or two to put this together, and so I'm kind of hoping I get a lot of volunteers to attend this meeting. Let's hear what he needs from us, and we fan out in the community. Let's get it for him so we can put together this grant money for FEMA. He's basically, we have 25 applicants in the FEMA grant category, and only 9 of them are going to get their funding. And so it's up to us to make our case for the flooding. They take into consideration everything, our income averages, the number of people we have, the size of our community, the amount of the problems we have, all of those. And we're going to be competing against larger cities that have much greater funding, but also have 30 homes underwater kind of problems. So anyway, I would hope that anybody that's here would maybe be willing to help us. Just let me know so I can get an email address and I can just say, hey, Tuesday's our meeting, we need to get together this time, that kind of thing. So we can all get together, let's figure out what we need, and help him do the heavier lifting on some of the things like putting together a book of the town as far as what, the problems we have and how we can solve them. So, and he'll do the engineering part of it, but I think that he needs us for the window dressing part of it. So, Big Plains Water's not here. Code enforcement, Rich or Paul Edwardson.
We still haven't gotten off the landing pad on that. We need to talk to Rachel and see what our priorities are.
Yeah, let's get a meeting set up with Rich and Rachel.
Okay.
Myself even, we'll meet up with her and let's go over these details so Rich can get going on it. And Rich, did you have anything you want to share?
No, I'm fine.
Okay.
Thanks.
And roads and storm drainage, I know you've got a washboard road out there in Gooseberry. Hopefully when we get some rain the next day or so, we'll be right out there with the road grader to help flatten that out a little bit for you guys. Any comments on that?
It's a dirt road, I guess, right?
Anybody else have any comments? Make a motion to...
Make a motion to open public comments?
Second?
Aye.
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 It seems kind of moot because we let you talk through the whole meeting, but...
But of course.
We're so easy.
Yeah, Rich Cop, 1193 East Fifth. Yeah, I know Bob Campbell had a bunch of pictures from a couple of the storms, so I think we should fish him off for sure, because his road going back down to his home, that always washes out. I believe we have some pictures of that area in the back where the water was up to the for sale sign, so.
Yeah, I've got some of those myself.
Right, so I guess anybody that has pictures.
Anything in your area that's a problem, make sure that we get them together, so. Red, or Margie?
Margie Osowski, 1024 West Little Pinion. I want to thank Junior for coming over and helping me burn all my tumbleweeds. He was really good. I have to thank him. He was really good. And I called. I did call.
I didn't know that worked that way. You call him and then he comes over.
He did. He was just like, there he was, miraculous.
Did you bribe him with cookies or something?
I was bored.
I was bored.
Anybody else?
You were bored? Yeah.
Talking about
Somewhere at my house if you're bored.
We have a lake by the bridge nowadays, which particularly in the summertime is a problem with mosquitoes and what have you. And, I mean, it would be nice if we can, someone said it was because when they constructed the bridge, they dug dirt out, which they never put in.
I guess the thought was that it would fill back in eventually by washing dirt into it.
Well, it almost did, except for that last storm, fill it up again.
Okay.
But I think, when you have water there, it's hard to go in there to, fix that problem, so.
I think summer is particularly a problem because mosquitoes and flies and stuff, it just freezing when we've got all that water there.
Any other comments?
I make a motion, we close public comments.
You're good.
Yeah, everybody have a good holiday.
Vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Alright.
I had a lot of time.
And discussion action on Gateway, I mentioned we're gonna be having a, meeting with them on, Monday. So, let's get by that one.
What is the gate?
Rental project. That's the bridge out here, there's, we owe Ensign Engineering some money, and I gotta wade through that and figure out how much do we really owe and how much is it because of a canceled project, and what, you know, anyway, we're gonna sit down and hash it out, because we found a bunch of invoices, I know some have been wiped out and forgiven, but, some of them are not. So, anyway, request for closed session, I don't think we need one, and how about an adjournment?
I make a motion, we adjourn tonight's meeting.
Second. Vote.
Aye.
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 Happy Thanksgiving,
Everybody have a
everybody.
good holiday.
Anybody wants to send me a speech of it?